Hi, I'm Erin Larkin and I'm here with my friend Jay Beeson. We're underneath his bottle shop in the cellar. Normally people aren't allowed in here, so it's quite exciting. But we're here today to look at the 2019 Timo Mayer release from the Yarra Valley, which is awesome. You've got all of these for WA this year?
Yeah, we've got a big chunk of it anyway. So we were worried it wasn't going to come over, but we got on the blower to Timo and got things happening. So in the middle of COVID, he got all the wines over. So we're super excited to have them, and we haven't looked at them at all. So
no, and I've never looked at them side by side like this. And just for interest's sake for you, we have opened, because he only does one Chardonnay, we've also opened a Chablis to look at side by side, just to give you an indication of the flavour profile and to sort of give you something to compare to. And we've done something similar with the Nebbiolo, so we've paired it with a Valtellina, which Jay stands by absolutely, and I haven't tried yet, so I'm pretty excited.
Tough gig we've got here.
It's awful, I know, someone has to. So Jay, can you tell me, I'm going to pour the Chablis into the right-hand glass, and I'll pour the Timo Mayer into the left. So can you talk to me about this Chardonnay, please? Tell me about it.
Yeah, so Timo, well, firstly the Mayer wine, so he's from a long German heritage of winemakers, so 400 years in the family of making wines, travelled the world, ended up settling in Yarra, and this one property, so all estate fruit, all organically farmed, minimal intervention wines, beautiful cool climate, structure, and amazing wines, all from his Bloody Hill Vineyard. So it's named that because it's bloody steep, is what he says. So he only makes the one chard. This is from the first 5 rows of the Bloody Hill Vineyard. So tiny quantities. I think 8 dozen of these or something came over to Perth, and the total makes tiny. So,
yeah, right. Yeah. Super tiny. Just smelling it now. So this is the Mayer, that's the Chablis. I mean, this is finer, steelier, and more mineral than the Chablis, if that gives you some indication of flavour. This is all kind of like brine and citrus pith.
Yeah, and it's got a little bit of that lazy cheesiness as well, but so fresh.
Oh, yeah. Wow. What is that like? That's like white stone fruit and herbs. Is there like coriander root or something cool in there? Ginger?
Yeah, wow.
It's awesome.
And still a bit cold. It's going to come out, open up as well. But wow, it is really, and I'm glad we've chosen to open a Chablis with that, because it's going to be a pretty amazing comparison. That really mineral, slaty.
I think I just looked at another Yarra Valley Chardonnay this morning, very, very different to this. But the acidity is something that I really think typifies Yarra Valley Chardonnay and certainly separates it from Margaret River examples, which you and I see so often. This is just laser fine.
Yeah, it's racy, isn't it?
Yeah.
So that's going to last a million years. And we often talk about how, the age-worthiness of Chardonnay. We've been lucky enough to look at a lot of old ones over the years.
We have.
This one would definitely, it's almost got Riesling line and length, isn't it?
Have you seen old Timo Mayer wines?
No, I wish. They're so
Timo,
small.
We need to see some of your wines old, please.
Show us your stash. Wow.
Speaking of stash, I mean, you got to get a load of this room. There's some pretty exciting. I mean, usually, it's pretty
we don't
exciting.
bring people down here, Aaron. You're letting the secret out.
Sorry. It's good, though. There's a lot down here.
Yeah. And hopefully the sound's not too bad. You've got the boys running up and down with trolleys, and forklifts going out the back.
We've got the corridor here, so there's literally like cartons being rolled along trolleys here, and there's forklifts and that out in the warehouse. There's heaps of people in there when we came in this afternoon, so pretty busy day for you.
Yeah.
It's normal, I guess.
It is, and bottle shops have been, in retail with all the pubs and restaurants closed. Everyone's just master chefing at home, drinking nice wine and cooking beautiful food. So
there's actually something to that. I think we should do it more often.
Totally. Wow. Now the Chablis, Patrick Piuze, the sort of rock star of Bergen, the bad boy, French Canadian. So he's not he's not a local, and so he's come in there. He only makes Chablis with old vine material and the proper cru vineyard. It's
so we're looking
2018
at the Terroir de Courgis, which is a village wine, but a Ludi, obviously. And really, so this is 2018 versus the 19. Flavour-wise, this has a lot more succulent fruit and ripeness and plumpness on the mid-palate, kind of bookended by Chablis minerality and rockiness, which is really awesome.
It's got that, finishes right in that crushed oyster shell, doesn't it? But it does have that much riper spectrum. And Timo has two beautiful wines, though.
Timo, yeah. that Timo is fine. There's like a green apple character to the Timo when you come back to it from
Awesome. I get that. I reckon there's just no lees stir and that's just sitting on lees. It's got that tiny bit of funkiness. So he wants to bring back the funk.
Yeah, that's what I read so often about Mayer. Yeah. Mayer.
Yeah, well, I'm Mayer, but I'm also a little bit bogan, fine wine bogan, Aaron. Timo Mayer. Sweet. So that's cracking start, hey?
Love that. Now, we are going to open these for you. These have got a wax seal in them. And this might sound very basic to anyone that has opened a cork wine with a wax seal, so I'm sorry if that's repetitious, but for everybody else, don't try and remove the wax on the top of the bottle. You will A, be there forever, B, make a mess, and C, there's no point. Yeah. Jay, can you show us how it's done? With your very nice Bologna.
Yeah, we've got the code 38 here. Get to crank it out. We'll start with the wax on. I'll show you some we'll talk about. So just go straight through the top, guys. Through. Yeah. I love the packaging of these.
They're beautiful.
The Mayer wines as well. But the wax is beautiful, and you sort of trust that it's going to be not oxidised as well. True. It's just that extra layer. So guys, just go straight through your wax, okay? And it usually comes up with beautiful little...
And you'll get a little dent from the thing, but it doesn't matter. It's all good. So, Jay, can you tell us, just while I'll open, you talk, talk to us about the vineyards.
Yeah,
there's some stories here.
Timo makes 3 Pinots. The Bloody Hill vineyard that we talked about is where the Chardonnay, the first 5 rows. The rest of that vineyard goes into the close planted Pinot, this one here. And then the rest of the fruit from that Bloody Hill vineyard goes into the actual Bloody Hill wine. This is a totally de-stemmed wine, okay? So the Bloody Hill's that, and we can talk about the winemaking when we've got them in the glass, but this is the entry level, if Timo has an entry level wine.
Still learning how to use your fancy opener.
It's all good. And it's with the hinge, you don't need the double.
So beautiful.
Yeah, it is. The close planted, so 75 centimetres apart.
So
really close.
That's 75 centimetres-ish. So I mean, that's outrageously close.
Yeah, really close. Low cropping, higher quality fruit. And 5 different clones through that vineyard. So he likes experimenting with clones with the practices in the vineyard to get the best fruit. The Doctor, which you're opening right now, is from the vineyard up near the house. So it's really interesting. Sadly, there's phylloxera in Yarra Valley, and it's slowly going through. He's actually planted phylloxera-resistant vines in between the current vines. So he knows that vineyard will die off eventually. So he's got a vineyard growing up in between. So he's basically, Jay, I've got a vineyard ready to go half a metre to the right. So, and I've never seen that done before. So really quite smart. At the moment, he's got another close planted vineyard. So,
and question about that. So if you've got vines that are that close together, obviously there's going to be increased root competition for the plants, which devigors the vines, correct?
Yeah, exactly.
So it forces them into a lower cropping space. Does he find, do you know, if that intensifies the flavours?
Yeah, well, I think, I often talk about there's a certain amount of flavour per metre of dirt.
Yeah.
Because of the minerals and the health of the soil and the organic. So if we're producing less fruit per metre of soil, we're going to have more flavour in the...
that doesn't matter. You can clean that up. Sorry, go on.
In the fruit. And so, the Doctor is 100% whole bunch. So this is his funky boy.
Cool.
Okay, and the close planted is 30%, changes each year, so depending on what he wants or he feels the fruit can handle. He started this back in early 2000s, and he was one of the first... You're getting used to it.
I love it.
I'm going to keep my eyes on it, he's using that whole bunch. Now, I really don't like that green style of whole bunch, when you get that sappiness. It's
not my vibe. But, although I don't mind a bit of sappiness, but not green.
Structure, but not green. So I was on the phone to Timo this morning, actually letting him know we were opening these up and having a chat. He was in the vineyard working hard. Well, I was trying to get him to do it with us, a bit of a cross, but he said, Jay, I swear too much and I'm not allowed to do that kind of stuff. But so he was in the vineyard, nothing else to do. We had a nice chat about the restaurants. And a lot of his trade is, these are boutique wines and food wines. And so anyway, 30% for the close plant this year. Bloody Hill, 100% de-stemmed. But I'll talk about his techniques in a bit later. Then we'll have a look at this one. It's pretty, firstly, isn't it? Oh
man, yeah, it's so pretty. It's like black cherry and pomegranate and a bit of raspberry. Spicy. There's pepper and. What is that? Is that like juniper or anise maybe? It's something cool.
I'm not the only one. I'm sure people follow you to
pretty
listen to you. It is. Your eloquent tasting notes, you've got such an amazing palate. That's why people tune in.
Thank you.
Wow, you just couldn't smell that for days, don't you?
Yeah. I imagine cooking them. That's how I come up with the flavours. I imagine if I was standing in front of a cupboard and I had to bring in flavours onto my bench top that I found in the glass, what would I put into it? And some things work and some things don't. You just know when you pull them down, you're like, no, that's not there.
There you go.
And others are definitely there.
Yum. So you get that, there is that juby fruit. It's subtle, it's still some really big, some savouriness, but that 100% de-stemmed.
I mean, that's pretty delicious. It's actually very plump and very succulent and quite luxurious, but really fine. And we said sappy. Sappy can be bad because it can be green. But sappy can also, for me, allude to like a sinewy type texture. You know, it's kind of willowy and flexible, and that's what this is.
Yeah.
It's good.
It's got amazing length.
Happens to the best of us. I just spilled myself.
Yeah, amazing length. And fruit, that fruit tannin's there. Like, there's not much oak tannin at all, but that's got beautiful length. That's going to last forever for the entry level wine. We're talking.
Well, yeah. How much is this?
It's 35 to 40 over here in the west with shipping and that kind of stuff. So with the small operations, you can't really avoid it. So it's,
I think at $30.
You can find these $35 to $40 around.
$30 to $40 is about, I think, where I like to spend money on wine to drink anyway. Like, I think that's a real sweet spot. There's obviously plenty of magnificent value to be had around the $20, $25 mark, no question. But as soon as you start hitting $30 and $40, you're really in a sweet spot of wine, I think.
Under $30, for Pinot especially, that under 30 is
can be challenging.
Wrought with danger. And Ali and I spend a lot of time trying to look for the best quality. And we pride ourselves on our sort of $25 to $30 Pinots. Once you get over that, you're starting to expect some real quality there, aren't you? And then,
which we have.
Oh, amazing. Yeah. So 72 bottles came to Perth for that.
Okay, we've just opened one.
We've just opened one.
Yeah,
so
okay. There's not very much.
His tiny operation, amazing person. It's a privilege and an honour to open these up and have a look.
When Jay said, I'm going to get these Mayer wines in, do you want to come and have a look at them? I was literally just went straight to my calendar and thought, when am I free?
Yeah.
Tomorrow.
Exactly.
Can you bring the thing up? Because I want to empty these glasses and get you some more Pinot in the glass.
Yeah, so let's have a look at the big boys. So,
whoops.
Cheers.
Okay, so we've got two, yes?
So we're going to a sort of $65 price point with these two wines. So the Close Planted from the Bloody Hill.
Okay, this is the one that he's interspaced the two rows?
No, so that's the Dr. Vineyard here. So it's his Timo's packaging, God bless him, is the only difference in the labels is the Doctor in front of there. And the Doctor is the one that's actually from our Close Planted vineyard, but it's not the Close Planted.
Thank you.
It took me a while to get my head around that.
At least you're here to explain it to people.
Yeah. Wow, again, so pretty. For unfined, unfiltered, zero ads, minimal intervention winemaking, it's always so pretty.
There's a real like salted pomegranate sort of flavour there, you know. This is not a completely sweet wine.
No, it reminds me of a sour beer with that sweet and sour combination as well. Wow. So 30% whole bunch, but what I was talking to Timo, his trick to his whole bunch is that he does 10 days of carbonic maceration, so it doesn't touch the berries at all. Then he jumps in there, stomps it, so then you can have 10 days.
Physically jumping on them with his feet?
Yep.
Cool, yep.
Then 10, and so in only half-ton fermenters, so it keeps the ferment really cool. So he wants the ferments at room temperature, 22 degrees, long, slow ferment to calm those esters down to get those pretty characters. In the bigger wineries, if you're fermenting 5 tons, 10 tons, whatever, you can get right up there. So I've seen, we've visited wineries where the ferments are sitting at 29 to 33 degrees, and you just get more volatility and a totally different flavour profile. So really long, slow ferment, 10 days carbonic, 10 days then macerated ferment to get out that tannin. And
it's incredibly silky and fine and really good length and really good depth of flavour too. This still has a Yarra sinew about it, which is cool.
They finish in that really, in a sense of place, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does. So this is, the Dr. Mayer is the funky one.
The Doctor one is funky.
Funky.
The Doctor is that the side up near the house, the one that he's sort of doing the phylloxera transition, and 100%. This is always his funky 100% whole bunch.
There is like a cayenne pepper sort of savoury spice lingering around the top.
There was a sort of a generosity with the close planted, with that really dense fruit. This has got a lot to tell me.
And this has a flick of acidity too, which, if this one is smooth and consistent and silky, moving towards seamless, this is with like a savoury spice nose actually, and some red tuby fruit. This is completely different, and that acidity is quite like, it's like there's like a whip of it across the mouth, you know.
Yeah, and it's got incredible length, doesn't it? You can taste that. It's not a woodiness, but it's like a woody herb or something. It's quite incredible.
Yeah, it's awesome. That, I think when I drink so much wine, right, from so many different places, that it starts to be that I look for things that are different or that ground me and give me an experience, because so many great wines, when you're tasting a lot of them side by side, can end up looking kind of similar. And it becomes fascinating to find the wines that speak of their place, and these are really unique, interesting, delicious wines that will capture your imagination and your palate, but will also take you somewhere else, which, especially in times of COVID where we can't travel, a very important thing.
Yeah, no, it's really well put. And it is, you know, these kind of winemakers that he's in the vineyard pruning, you know, they know every vine, don't they? They pretty much name them. All they want to do is transition that flavour and tell that story of the vineyard. You know, that we say all the time, the good wine's made in the vineyard.
Yeah.
You know, great wine's made in the vineyard.
Right?
And it is, and they're just custodians of the flavour and the fruit, aren't they?
It's true. This is tomato. If you ever read tomato bush in a tasting note, that, or tomato leaf or whatever, that can sometimes be a comment from the wine writer or whoever's writing about that particular wine, that there are elements of unripe characters in it. When I talk about tomato, because I think tomato is a really relevant tasting flavour, like a characteristic, I often reference really ripe, sweet, juicy heirloom tomatoes, you know, at the peak of the season when they're sweet as well as being salty.
Yeah.
And that's kind of where this is moving to. This is not just in the cherry, pomegranate, raspberry, strawberry space. This is moving into something that's more complex, more savoury, but still juicy. You think?
I like your sweet,
currant.
the sweet salt. There's that sort of juxtapositioning of flavours there. And this will be telling a different story in a few hours as well. It's,
No question.
It's kind of beautiful to watch that transition. And often, like my partner and I have an argument. I want to whack everything in, if I know it's young or it's structured, to
Straight
whack
in
it
the
into a decanter. And
It can help,
but she's much more about, let's go on the journey. Let's pour a glass. Let's see what's looking like now. Let's come back in half an hour. So
That's why
that is
I
the fun
like
part in wine.
That's why I like opening them now, and that's also why I quite like drinking wine cold, white wines cold, because you get to see what it's like when it's cold, and often it can be ungiving and not give you that much. But as it warms up, you start to see the progression, and it's kind of, I don't know about you, but I'm overly anxious about oxidation in wine. So after I open a bottle, if I know I'm not going to finish it, I'll gas it with argon so that it stays fresh, and then look at it the next day, gas it, look at it like a bit.
You see my confused look about
I know,
what's leftover wine, Aaron. I know what you're saying, but how?
But sometimes when you look at a wine over like 2 or 3 nights, and it starts to tell you a different thing.
Yeah, and it's often a peek into its future if you sell it. You know, that sort of leaving it open for a few days, coming back and going, wow, that's probably when the tannins have softened a little bit and it has seen a little bit more oxygen.
Totally.
And temperature's so important, and
Everything.
whites, you know, our fridges are under 4 degrees, you know, and then we pull it out. We really want to be drinking Chardonnays at what? 12?
12 is nice.
Yeah, that's beautiful. And the reds, our room temperature is so much hotter than
like
the rest of the
25,
world. So we want to really drink reds. We drink our whites too cold and the reds too hot often.
Correct.
So.
And I've been conducting tastings at my house with wines that I'll buy 6 bottles of the same wine. I mean, this is really pedantic, but 6 of the same wine. And I'll put a bottle in each room for a couple of weeks, couple of months, come back and look at them labelled so I know front room, back room, blah, blah, blah. And I can tell you that after all of those trials that I've done it 4 times now, the heat affected wines, so the wines on the northern end of my house that get all the sunshine, are the alcohol pokes out, the length is never as long as they should be, and they end up being quite awkward and aggressive. So
intriguing.
If you keep them cooler, they just drink so much better.
Which is the beauty of having a space like this. It's
Well.
constant temperature, isn't it? That's also, You know, it doesn't matter if this place you choose is a little bit warmer. It's that
As long as it
fluctuation
stays
in temperature.
correct.
And you're just going to get the much better conditioned wines. They're stunning, Timo. Well done.
Love both of them.
Yeah.
Really hard to pick
And
a
very,
favourite.
yeah, very different style. Totally. I would think.
I'll
What
go
about
back
the
and forth,
whole
hey?
drink the close planted and cellar the doctor for me?
Yeah, because there's that
There's a
nose
core
on
sweet fruit
core.
on the close planted.
The
That's
nose
just,
on this is really exciting.
it's a little bit of carbonic macerated. It's not bubble gummy in that Gamay
It's
Beaujolais
not.
style, but it's
No, it's
just
savoury.
it's like a salted plum.
Yeah. Yeah, it's awesome. All right, Nebbiolo. I mean, who
Yeah,
doesn't love Nebbiolo?
we're getting caught up in the beauty of those wines. So,
I'm going to keep one of them in my glass. I'll just keep the doctor.
the Nebbiolo. So, we chose to open the Arpepe, the Rosso de Valtellina. So, it's it's mountains up near the Swiss border. It's much cooler than the Barolos and Barbarescos, and it's got. Well, hopefully we'll have a look. You haven't seen it before.
I haven't
ruin
seen it,
actually.
yeah.
But that's, I think, the style that I get from Timo's Neb. So there's not a big whack of new oak. There's not much oak influence at all. It's one that's to be pretty and floral.
Oh, yeah. I love Nebbiolo. I have like a lot of favourite grape varieties. Obviously, I can't pick one. But every time I drink, I seem to get the most excited about good Nebbiolo.
Yeah.
It really takes me somewhere.
And you can take it on. You can mould it into so many different styles, can't you? And so age-worthy, beautiful acid and that.
This is
Sweet and
unapologetically Italian. Smelling this, they have like a similar character about them, but that is definitely Italian.
Yeah. Right, it is that tar and roses too.
Yeah, absolutely.
Timo,
So
this is pretty, isn't it?
it is. So Nebbiolo is often described as Pinot with balls, basically, because it has the finesse and the nuance that Pinot does, but the tannins are much more pronounced and assert themselves a lot more onto your palate. And it can be made in a vast array of styles. And what we're looking at here is a really, I'm guessing, old oak, not very long, juicy, bright, fine style, as opposed to Barolo, which is a longer time in oak, much more pronounced.
For years.
Yeah, oak flavours and characters, and also much more pronounced tannins and much more age-worthy, I would say.
But then have a try on the palate, Aaron. It's unmistakably Nebbiolo. It's whack.
Yeah.
So you just want to open it a bit. You need protein.
Oh, man. I love Nebbiolo.
Isn't it beautiful? So that,
It's so
as you're saying,
engaging.
it's that Pinot. It's got the Pinot prettiness and florals, and that. Again, he's got this. Say whether it's the Vineyard or his winemaking, that savoury herb note through them all, and then whack, it's just got this fruits tannin.
And it's like a real grip on your palate. So, so there's fruit characters and flavours, and there's acidity, there's length of flavour, but there's a phenolic structure or a tannin structure that is like a third dimension in the wine, and that creates real interest and engagement, and that's why I go back again. Actually, I feel it's kind of chewy.
It sort of, you can picture. It makes shapes in your brain, doesn't it? You can sort of. I love sort of trying to figure out that tannin profile, how it feels and tastes. That's chewy in all the right places, and it's yummy. And again, very pretty, Timo.
Beautiful, actually.
For a baby Neb, 2019, it shouldn't be. We shouldn't really have it in our possession at the moment at all. But
No.
thank you. We'll lay him down.
We're appreciating it. It's not being wasted. It's beautiful.
Yeah.
Just trying to think where the flavours are. I mean, this is like a red currant.
It's a red currant. Is that raspberry?
Red apple, raspberry.
It's intriguing, isn't it? You could just smell that
Beautiful.
for days.
Yeah, and the tannins are really fine. It's like ground. It's not, if you think of tannins as rock in terms of different levels of ground or crushed rock, this is like almost fine sand, the kind of sand that squeaks under your feet kind of thing. It's very, very
It's
fine.
just a
It's
whole
everywhere.
mouth coating experience. So.
It's beautiful.
some
And the
way to open
Valtellina.
it. So, Miss Jane's favourite wine.
Jane, thank you. This is delicious.
It's not often we get to introduce you to a wine you haven't tried.
No, that's why I'm very happy. So this is juicy and bouncy and Italian because it has green vegetables as well as red fruits, and it's got spice and texture and.
So yeah. So Italian. I love your sentiment. It's just unapologetically
Oh,
Italian.
mate. If you put this in a blind tasting, that would just be awesome because everyone would get it right.
So obviously Rosso, so the entry level, sits at that $65. So really fair comparison.
And that it's nice to put them against each other. So I think I interrupted you and I'm sorry. What I was going to say about them in terms of comparing Nebbiolos of a similar quality is that you have, or price point, you have New World wines tend to have a much more open and approachable fruit profile at the front. So they speak first of fruit, then of spice, then of texture, acidity, length. And Italian wines, or European, but in this case Italian, is like spice, and you sort of get a hint of the acidity, and then you get the fruit, and then it kind of moves into texture and length. And so they're just ordered a little bit differently. That's how I think of them.
Oh, wow.
So they're no less, neither is more complex than the other, but in terms of the order that they present themselves in, the New World wine
they're
is
totally
fruit
different
first.
wines, aren't they? I love that.
Are.
Really that fresh leather.
Honestly, I think this is the wine I want to drink tonight, though. Like, this is the,
It's just got that fruit forward, finish and structure. Well, what a special little lineup.
Jay, thank you.
Oh, absolute pleasure.
He let us into his cellar and he opened all these great wines for us.
Well, cheers.
Thank
you
you.
very much, Jay. See ya.
And thanks, Timo. Love it.
Thanks, guys. And have a great night.